Question 1. With respect to responsive web design, CS media queries play a critical role in adapting content across devices. Suppose Emily is tasked with making a retail website accessible on both desktop and mobile. She uses Earth Media Query to adjust font sizes and layout widths. However, when viewed on tablets, the layout breaks and the images overflow the screen. What could be the most plausible underlying mistake Emily has made in CS media queries? She failed to define a max width for media queries targeting tablet resolutions. B. She used inline styles instead of external CSS for responsiveness. C. She applied pixel-based font sizes instead of relative units. D. She forgot to include the viewport meta tag in the HTML head section. Answer. Correct answer. D. Explanation. The most common mistake in responsive design when media queries don't render correctly on tablets is omitting the viewport meta tag. Without this, the browser doesn't scale the page properly, rendering media queries ineffective. While using relative font sizes and max width settings is essential, their absence doesn't directly break layouts on devices unless the page isn't scaled properly first. According to ESS device adaptation and best practices in responsive web design always include to ensure proper scaling. This is foundational principle in responsive CSS development. Question 2. A critical examination of website form design reveals that usability principles significantly influence conversion rates. Michelle designs a multi-step sign-up form for a non-profit donation site. She places form fields for name, address, and credit card information on one long page which loads slowly and has small, poorly labeled buttons. The bounce rate is extremely high. Which UX principle did Michelle most critically violate? A. Provide visual hierarchy to guide the user's eye. B. Use progressive disclosure to simplify complexity. C. Ensure color contrast. MUDWAG 2.1 standards. D. Offer users multiple methods to complete tasks. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Michelle's design failed to implement progressive disclosure UX principle where complex tasks are broken into smaller, more manageable steps, reducing cognitive load. Long forms deter users, especially on mobile. According to Nielsen Norman Group UX guidance, breaking long forms into multi-step flows with clear navigation increases completion rates, while color contrast and visual hierarchy major barrier here is complexity and overload. Addressed by progressive disclosure. Question 3. When analyzing dynamic content behavior on a client-side interactive form, developer asks user HTML to animate elements when users click buttons. However, the form elements become unresponsive in some browsers. Upon investigation, he realizes the issue only occurs when certain scripts load asynchronously. What is the most effective method to ensure reliable JavaScript-driven interactivity in this scenario? A. Load the script files in the document to ensure early parsing. B. Use the defer attribute on script tags to delay execution. C. Use inline event handlers in HTML tags for all dynamic elements. D. Move all script tags to the bottom of the HTML body to avoid render blocking. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. The best solution is to use the defer attribute. Unlike async, which executes scripts immediately after download, possibly before the DOM is ready, defer ensures that the script waits until the full HTML is parsed. This allows JavaScript to safely interact with the DOM, avoiding unresponsive form fields. According to HTML specification and best practices from MDN, defer is ideal for scripts manipulate DOM elements post-load. Question 4. Throughout the course of developing a multilingual website for a university, Joseph implemented a mega menu navigation system. Each main category opens a large panel with multiple sublinks. However, international users report difficulty navigating on mobile. What is the most effective strategy to improve this navigation structure? A. Replace the mega menu with a collapsible accordion structure on mobile. Add hover effects to submenu links for clearer interaction. C. Use JavaScript to auto-expand all menus when the page loads. D. Reduce the number of menu categories to only 2 or 3 options. Answer. Correct answer. Explanation. Mega menus are not mobile-friendly due to limited screen space and hover-based interaction. Best practice as outlined in WC Mobile Web Best practices in Google MobileUX guidelines is to use collapsible accordion menus which conserve space and are touch optimized. Hover effects don't work well on touchscreens, as simply reducing menu items may oversimplify the information architecture. Question 5. Based on the information provided in your website's search engine analytics, you observe consistent drop in traffic following redesign. Further analysis shows that page titles and meta descriptions were either removed or duplicated across many pages. How does this affect SEO and what corrective action should be prioritized? A. Add image alt text and reduce page size for better loading. B. Submit the sitemap again to search engines. C. Reintroduce unique title tags and meta descriptions per page. D. Increase keyword density across all pages. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Search engines heavily rely on title tags and meta descriptions to understand and rank pages. Their removal or duplication creates confusion for indexing and can result in low rankings and click-through rates. According to Google Search Essentials and Yoast SEO recommendations, each page must have a unique title and meta description reflecting its content. Keyword stuffing, increasing keyword density, is outdated. Penalite. Question 6. When presented with the challenge of building a time-sensitive event registration site, developer Stephanie proposes skipping the planning phase to expedite development. However, the final product lacks critical user features and stakeholders are dissatisfied. Which web development phase would most likely have prevented this failure? A. Design phase. B. Analysis and specification phase. C. Testing and evaluation phase. D. Implementation phase. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. The analysis and specification phase is crucial for defining user needs, goals, and requirements. Skipping it often results in a misalignment between user expectations and the final product. According to the System Development Lifecycle (SDLC) and C Web Development Lifecycle, this phase ensures that the project scope, content, and functionality align with business objectives and user expectations. Question 7. By comparing HTML and elements with older plugin-based technologies like Flash, which of the following advantages is most significant for modern website performance and accessibility? A. Flash offers more advanced graphic capabilities for animation. B. HTML media elements are natively supported and do not require plugins. C. Flash allows easy ERM integration for copyrighted media. E. HTML requires additional software installation on most devices. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. HTMLs and elements are natively supported by browsers, require no plugins, and are more secure and accessible. Flash is deprecated as of 2020 due to numerous vulnerabilities. A WMS specification promotes plugin-free multimedia for better performance, mobile compatibility, and compliance with WAG accessibility standards. Question 8. The foundation of a successful website project often begins with wireframing. Samantha is tasked with designing a content-rich news portal. She uses wireframes but skips creating a sitemap, assuming wireframes are sufficient for structure. However, developers face difficulty linking content properly. Why is a sitemap necessary even when wireframes exist? A. Wireframes and sitemaps serve the same purpose and are interchangeable. B. Sitemaps clarify navigation structure and content hierarchy across the entire site. C. Developers cannot code HTML without a sitemap. D. Wireframes automatically generate all required navigation links. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. While wireframes show individual page layouts, sitemaps provide an overarching view of structure, navigation, and hierarchy. According to IA Information Architecture Best Practices and C Web Development Lifecycle, both are required. Wireframes for UI design and sitemaps for logical flow and organization. Confusing or skipping either leads to poor usability and increased development errors. Question 9. Under the assumption that client expectations are aligned with best practices, Brandon promises a highly interactive e-commerce platform in 2 weeks despite feedback suggesting more time is needed. Midway through, scope creep arises and the client insists on additional features without extending the timeline or budget. What should Brandon have done during the planning phase to avoid this issue? A. Rejected any scope changes after planning is finalized. B. Built extra time into the schedule without informing the client. C. Defined clear deliverables and change management procedures in the contract. D. Ignored client demands that exceed the original agreement. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. The best practice is to include clear deliverables, timeline, and change request protocols in the initial agreement. This aligns with PMBOK project management standards and C project planning practices. Without this, scope creep leads to unrealistic demands. Documentation protects both developers and clients by setting boundaries and ensuring accountability. Question 10. To illustrate this point about image optimization, developer Lewis uploads multiple 5 megabytes high-resolution PNG images on a homepage, resulting in long loading times. Which alternative approach would best balance quality and performance? A. Use BMP format for sharper resolution. B. Convert images to SVG to retain bitmap clarity. C. Optimize and compress images in JPEG or web format. D. Increase server memory to accommodate large images. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. The JPEG and web formats are optimized for web use. Balancing quality and file size. Web especially offers lossless compression with smaller sizes than PNG or JPEG, according to Google PageSpeed Insight Deluso graphics standards. Large uncompressed images reduce performance and hurt C. SVG is for vector graphics, not bitmaps. Question 11. By evaluating workflows in Adobe Dreamweaver, Julian attempts to use the design view exclusively for building a product landing page. After deployment, several dynamic elements do not function correctly, and responsive behaviors are inconsistent across screen sizes. What major limitation of Dreamweaver's design view likely caused this issue? A. It automatically converts script into inline styles. B. It does not support external stylish sheet linking. C. It cannot render advanced JavaScript or dynamic layout behaviors accurately. D. It restricts the use of modern Semantic HTML tags. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Dreamweaver's design view provides YCWG interface but cannot fully render dynamic content, especially JavaScript-based interactivity and media queries for responsive design. Adobe documentation warns developers to validate such features in live view or actual browsers. Relying solely on design view leads to deployment issues. The SU curriculum emphasizes the need to test dynamic features out visual editors. Question 12. The traditional approach to integrating branding into websites involves consistency across all visual and textual elements. Gabriella is revamping a non-profit site but uses varying fonts, different shades of blue, and inconsistent logo placements. What branding principle did she most critically violate? A. Reinforcing brand identity through color and typography consistency. B. Updating logos to reflect contemporary design trends. C. Minimizing whitespace to emphasize dense content. D. Encouraging creative expression through visual variants. Answer. Correct answer. Explanation. A cornerstone of branding is visual consistency, including uniform use of logos, fonts, and colors. According to WC branding guidelines and corporate identity standards, such consistency improves brand recognition and trust. Deviations dilute the brand message. Creative design is allowed, but never at the expense of identity coherence. Question 13. Through careful analysis of ExpressionWeb's behavior, developer Tom attempts to use it for managing large CS libraries. However, he finds that certain rules aren't applying as expected. What feature limitation in ExpressionWeb could be responsible for this confusion? A. ExpressionWeb does not support custom font embedding. B. It only supports inline styling within HTML elements. C. It lacks a comprehensive ES rule management interface for cascade order visualization. D. ExpressionWeb cannot preview styles applied via external ESS. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. ExpressionWeb doesn't provide advanced visualization for CSS cascade order, specificity, or inheritance conflicts. While external styles are supported, understanding how they interact requires manual analysis. According to Microsoft ExpressionWeb documentation, Developers must often rely on browser dev tools or third-party CSS tools for full debugging clarity. Question 14. Given the circumstances of a client's tight budget and deadline, team leader Alicia chooses to bypass formal communication plan to avoid overhead. Halfway through, team members are unclear on deliverables and multiple files are duplicated or missing. What best practice in project management was neglected? A. Implementing shared visual design system. B. Creating content delivery network. C. Establishing structured communication protocols. D. Applying HTML semantic structuring early in planning. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. A communication plan ensures consistent understanding, expectations, file ownership, and timelines. According to PMBOK guidelines and the C project management module, unclear communication leads to misalignment and errors. Cutting corners to save time often backfires, especially in collaborative web development environments. Question 15. To determine whether GUI tools are effective for enterprise-level sites, developer Eric compares code generated by a GUI tool with hand-code HTML. He finds excessive div nesting and non-semantic tags. Which conclusion can be reasonably drawn about GUI-based editors in this context? A. GUI editors produce optimal code for SEO purposes. B. GUI-generated code often lacks semantic clarity and optimization. C. GUI tools enhance server-side integration by default. D. GUI editors completely eliminate cross-browser compatibility issues. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Most GUI editors prioritize visual layout over semantic structure, often generating bloated or non-optimal HTML. This can hurt accessibility, maintainability, and SEO. SEO exam topics stress code validation and semantic markup, which are sometimes compromised in GUI-generated code. Developers must inspect and refactor this code for production use. Question 16. In light of recent developments regarding user privacy, a government contractor is building a public-facing web portal. The project manager fails to include a privacy policy and collects email addresses without consent. What legislation or standard is most relevant to address this violation? EMS execution. B. DDR, General Data Protection Regulation. E. RFC 266 GP standard. D. ISO 9001 2015 Quality Assurance Requirements. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. DDR mandates explicit user consent before collecting personal data like email addresses. It also requires clear, accessible privacy policies. These principles apply to any site targeting or serving users in the EU. Non-compliance can result in severe penalties. SEO exams emphasize legal and ethical obligations in digital design, including privacy law adherence. Question 17. The core principles of effective design emphasize cognitive load reduction. For an educational site targeting children, designer Melissa uses vibrant colors and large fonts, but her homepage is cluttered with animations, rotating banners, and multiple call to actions. Which design principle has she most egregiously ignored? A. Proximity. B. Repetition. C. Simplicity. D. Alignment. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Simplicity is key in any design, especially educational or child-oriented platforms. Overstimulating the user leads to distraction and reduced usability. According to Way and Usability Heuristics by Jakob Nielsen, simplicity improves focus, reduces confusion, and increases accessibility. Overdesigning violates this core principle. Question 18. In comparison with server-side scripting, client-side scripting enables dynamic behavior without reloading pages. Developer Rashid uses client-side JavaScript to validate form input but disables server-side validation to reduce server load. What critical risk does this pose? A. JavaScript ensures security, so server-side validation is redundant. B. Server-side validation is optional, HETS is used. C. Without server-side validation, malicious users can bypass client rules and inject harmful data. D. Forms will only work in Chrome and Firefox. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Client-side validation improves user experience but is not secure since it can be bypassed. Server-side validation is essential to protect against attacks like SQL injection and malformed inputs. According to OWASP, relying only on client-side scripts violates secure coding principles. CIW emphasizes validation redundancy for both functionality and security. Question 19. Focusing specifically on the user HTML versus HTML, developer Anya creates a web page with unclosed and tags while declaring the document type HTML 1.0 strip. What rendering issue or error might she encounter? A. HTML will automatically correct unclosed tags at runtime. B. The browser will prompt the user to close tags manually. C. The page will not validate, and older browsers may render it unpredictably. D. HTML engines will override HTML constraints. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation HTML requires well-formed XML, including self-closed tags like violations break validation and can cause older browsers or strict XML parsers to fail. According to TMS specifications and HTML's lenient HTML enforces proper syntax. CIW exams test the importance of declaring and matching syntax to document types. Question 20. The implications of improper file permissions during site publishing are often overlooked. Developer may send uploads AEN site using FTP but forgets to reset file permissions. Later, sensitive configuration files are accessible to users. What is the best preventive measure in this case? A. Use CHMOD 777 to allow universal read-write access. B. Change all file names to TXT to confuse hackers. C. Restrict configuration files using proper permission settings like 600. D. Encrypt the entire site before uploading IFD. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. File permissions are critical in securing server-side scripts and sensitive files. The HMOD 600 ensures only the owner can read-write, leaving permissions open. G. 777 is dangerous. According to OWASP and CFTP best practices, securing config files like htaccess or config PHP is mandatory to prevent exposure and attacks. Question 21. While examining the phases of a website project, developer Nathan notices that after client approval of the prototype, the team immediately begins coding without further analysis. Later, the client requests significant changes, causing delays. What critical project phase was likely skipped or inadequately performed? A. Testing and quality assurance. B. Requirement analysis and specification. C. Deployment and maintenance. D. Wireframing and mockups. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. The requirement analysis phase is fundamental to understanding and documenting client needs before development begins. Skipping or rushing this phase leads to misunderstandings and scope creep. According to the CIW web development process model, clearly defining and validating requirements reduces rework and improves project success. Prototypes are useful but should follow thorough analysis. Question 22. Considering the evidence from user engagement data, a site with embedded multimedia experiences frequent slow loading times and crashes on older devices. Developer Chloe uses uncompressed video formats with autoplay enabled on the homepage. What strategy should she implement to optimize multimedia use without degrading user experience? A. Replace all video content with static images. B. Compress videos using formats like MP with adaptive streaming. C. Increase server bandwidth to handle large files. D. Use Flash-based players for better compatibility. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Compressing videos using modern formats like MP, H.264 and implementing adaptive streaming HTTP live streaming optimizes bandwidth and device compatibility. This approach balances quality and performance, improves accessibility, and aligns with HTML multimedia standards. Flash is deprecated, and replacing videos with images reduces engagement significantly. Question 23. From a practical standpoint, a user testing report shows confusion among visitors on a financial advice site caused by consistent button labeling like Start, Own Procedure, and Next Step. Which principle is violated and what is the best corrective action? A. Visibility of system status. Add loading spinners. B. Consistency and standards. Unify button labels for clarity. C. Error prevention and disable buttons until input is validated. D. Flexibility and efficiency. Provide keyboard shortcuts. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Consistency in interface elements reduces cognitive load and user errors. According to Nielsen's heuristics and WAG, uniform button labels improve navigation predictability and user satisfaction. Variance in labels causes confusion and mistrust. Consistent terminology enhances usability and accessibility. Question 24. The fundamental question is whether raster or vector graphics better suit a company logo displayed across different device screens. Designer Leo creates the logo as AER but experiences pixelation on high-resolution displays. Which approach best addresses this issue? A. Use vector graphics like SVG for scalable quality. Increase PNG resolution to 300 EPI. C. Use JPEG format for better compression. D. Convert the PNG EMP for lossless quality. Answer. Correct answer. Explanation. Vector graphic SVG scale infinitely without losing clarity, making them ideal for logos and icons across devices. Raster images like PNG can pixelate when enlarged. According to OEE specifications and responsive design, best practice SCGS are the preferred format for logos requiring scalability and crisp rendering. Question 25. In terms of accessibility, a site uses a complex multi-level drop-down navigation menu implemented purely with hover events. Screen reader users report difficulty navigating the menu. What change would best improve accessibility? A. Add keyboard focus management and area roles to menu items. B. Replace drop-down menus with static links only. C. Disable the menu on mobile devices. D. Increase the font size of menu items. Answer. Correct answer. Explanation. Purely hover-based menus exclude keyboard and assistive technology users. Incorporating keyboard focus management, tabbing, and area roles attributes like area hasp-up, area expanded makes menus accessible to all users. According to WAG 2.1 and Y area authoring practices, accessible navigation supports inclusivity without sacrificing complexity. Question 26. Among the various SEO tactics, marketing manager Sonia notices that her competitor ranks high due to frequent URL changes that redirect users to updated content pages. What SEO best practice should Sonia adopt to preserve search engine rankings during site restructuring? A. Use 301 permanent redirects from old URLs to new URLs. B. Use 302 temporary redirects to avoid caching. C. Delete outdated URLs immediately. D. Change meta descriptions frequently. Answer. Correct answer. Explanation. 301 redirect signal to search engines that a page has permanently moved, preserving link equity and ranking signals. Temporary 302 redirects do not pass ranking authority, and deleting URLs can cause broken links and 404 errors. According to Google Webmaster Guidelines, proper use of 301 redirects is essential during URL restructuring to maintain Question 27. A key distinction between HTML and TML is how browsers pass errors. Developer Rachel notices that a missing closing tag crashes a HTML page but is ignored in HTML. Why does this difference exist? HTML strict XML parsing rules requiring well-formed documents. HTML requires all tags to be self-closing. C. Browsers don't parse HTML and HTML. HTML validates HTML, doesn't it? Answer. Correct answer. Explanation. HTML documents are well-formed XML and browsers or XML parsers enforce strict syntax rules, causing errors. For unclosed tags, HTML is more forgiving, using error correction mechanisms to display malformed documents. Understanding this is key for compliance, WCAG specifications, and writing valid markup. Question 20. In response to a client's request for additional functionality after project kickoff, project manager Victor wants to accommodate the changes without affecting schedule or budget. What project management technique should Victor use to handle this? A. Implement change control procedures and renegotiate scope and timeline. B. Add the features immediately without consulting the client. C. Remove other features to compensate for the new requests. D. Delay project delivery without informing stakeholders. Answer. Correct answer. Explanation. Change control processes ensure that any new requests are formally evaluated for impact on scope, time, and cost. This approach aligns with PMBOK standards and SU project management principles. Ignoring procedures leads to scope creep and jeopardizes project success. Communication and renegotiation protect all parties. Question 29. The contemporary view of JavaScript frameworks emphasizes component reusability and maintainability. Developer Omar uses jQuery for DOM manipulation but finds his code increasingly unmanageable as the project grows. What approach should he adopt for better scalability? A. Continue using jQuery but add more plugins. B. Transition to a modern component-based framework like React or Vue.js. C. Use inline JavaScript event handlers exclusively. D. Avoid JavaScript and rely on server-side rendering only. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Modern frameworks like React and Vue.js use component-based architecture, improving modularity, maintainability, and scalability. While jQuery is excellent for small projects, it lacks structure for large apps. This shift aligns with industry best practices and modern SU advanced web technology teachings. Question 30. To illustrate this point, a developer publishes a website but ignores the importance of setting ISALS certificates. After launch, users see security warnings and cannot access the site archives. What are the main consequences of this oversight? A. Improved site speed but reduced SEO rankings. B. Loss of user trust, increased vulnerability to data interception and SEO penalties. C. Increased server resource consumption. D. Higher costs due to certificate expiration. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. SALS certificates encrypt data in transit, protecting users from interception and tampering. With HTTPS, browsers warn users, eroding trust and potentially causing visitors to leave. Google also rank HTTPS sites higher. Failure to implement SSL risks SEO penalties, according to SEO Site Publishing and Security Guideline HTTPS, a standard requirement today.